Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio, where we break down the best hair metal albums from the 80s and the 90s. So grab that volume up, crank it up, and enjoy the show.
Showtime. Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio. I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts. First up, the podcaster, holding all the aces, Dangerous Dave.
Season's screamings, everyone.
Yes, sir. And last but not least, the podcaster, who likes the dark side of the beat, Lisa.
Hi, guys. I don't have a Halloween hello. Because for Goths is Halloween every day.
Okay, I think that works. As always, the mission of this show is for us to introduce each other and you, the listeners, to albums and bands which you may never have heard before, while also discussing the classics. So sit back and enjoy the show. So I think this is one of those episodes where we are going to be introducing people, myself included, to some new music. I would like to welcome our new listeners in the great country of Mexico, known for their tacos and beer. Yeah. Okay.
All right, ole.
Yes, and empanadas. Okay, tonight we will be discussing Bloody Kisses, the third studio album by Type O Negative, produced by the great, late Peter Steele and Josh Silver, released on August 17th of 1993 on Roadrunner Records. The album peaked at the number 166 spot on the U.S. Billboard 200 in 1995. That fact really surprised me. I would have bet my left nut that this never showed up on the Billboard 200, but I would have been mistaken, and I would be a uninut. The band's lineup was as follows. Peter Steele, lead vocals and gigantic bass guitar. He plays a fucking stand-up bass like a regular guitar. It's the coolest thing I ever saw. Kenny Hicks, backing vocals, co-lead vocals on Black Number 1, Little Miss Scare-All, and We Hate Everyone. Acoustic guitars and electric guitars. John Silver, backing vocals, keyboards, synthesizer, sound effects, electronic programming. And Sal Abruscato on drums and percussion. So, Lisa, you were in there diddling with the script because I did not see all that last time I looked at it.
Yeah.
Took me off.
I added those in. I think it's Kenny Hickey is the guitar player, and Josh Silver is the keyboard guy.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I have no facts on this because I am 100% sure that Lisa is going to fill us all in on everything you would ever need to know about Type O Negative.
Well, let's start with Dave first, and then I'll
Yes.
fill in what he misses.
You got it. Since I was scolded last week for breaking the order, we will not do that again.
I wasn't ready.
Okay. Dave, tell us what you know about Type O Negative.
Yes, the band was based out of New York City. The members were reportedly childhood friends. After Peter Steele's former band Carnivore split up, the new band was called Repulsion, then Sub-Zero, since another band with the name Repulsion already existed, and finally Type O Negative.
Nice.
At the time this album was coming out, drummer Sal Abruscato quit the band to join another Brooklyn band and label mates Life of Agony. There was some friction within the band based on Peter Steele being disinterested in national touring and not wanting to quit his day job at the New York Parks Department. It was not certain if the band would achieve success or break up.
Nice.
So yeah, I can understand that. You don't want to give up the sweet day job with the city.
Dude, it reminds me about Seinfeld, remember? Your cousin has a great job in the city parks department. Keep going. Go ahead.
Bloody Kisses was the first Roadrunner record label album to go gold and platinum. This album was re-released shortly after the initial release in 1993 as a digipack. That's the cardboard CD with the built-in CD holder, with a slightly modified track list, also expanded editions in 2009, the Top Shelf Edition, and also in 2024, Suspended in Dusk 30th Anniversary version. And finally, the band has performed and recorded many cover songs in their time, including The Doors' Light My Fire, Seals and Crofts' Summer Breeze on this album, A Cinnamon Girl by Neil Young on the October Rust album, and my favorite, Angry Inch from Hedwig and the Angry Inch appears on their 2003 album, Life is Killing Me. I did play bass in the show in Boston in 1999 and several times in New York in 99 and 2000. Maybe they came out to see the show, so I'll take full credit for inspiring their cover with my bass performance. Thank you.
I love it. Good for you,
I
Lisa.
knew you were going to come up with that cover too. As soon as I remember that they covered that song.
That's classic. So, Lisa,
All
fill
right.
in the blanks.
So I have a few more facts, and then we can talk about the members a little bit.
Okay.
So even before Carnivore, there was another band that basically most of the same members were in called Fallout. It was like a traditional metal band, and it's actually worth a listen. They never put out an album, but you can find, like floating around on YouTube and some of the underground websites, a like bootleg live recordings and some 7-inch singles that were actually professional recordings, but like no full album. So it's worth checking them out. Just wanted to mention them. Talking about Sub-Zero for a second. So between Repulsion, which was a copyrighted name, and Typo Negative was Sub-Zero. So Peter Steele had gotten a tattoo of the circle with the minus sign in it, which became, Typo Negative's kind of main symbol. Basically, he decided on the Typo Negative name because of that tattoo. And now in the goth community, everybody has that tattoo. It's everywhere. Whether you have a big version of it on your arm or it's on your knuckles or whatever it is, that's kind of the symbol that's kind of lived on for Typo Negative.
I have that
Do
tattoo on my butt.
Oh,
Dude, I was going to say, Lisa, do you have that tattoo?
I do not. All of my tattoos are actually original art.
Nice.
Although there is a couple bands I would consider getting tattooed on me. Typo Negative is one of them, but I don't have any band tattoo art at all. So
I've only had one band tattoo art, and it was the picture of Twiggy's brother that was on the Portrait of American Family album.
Mm-hmm.
And I have got it covered with Jesus. Talk about going from one extreme to another.
All right.
Okay, keep going.
So at the time, so this would have been, 1993, 94, around that time. So when this was happening, glam metal had fallen out by this point, right? We weren't seeing anything new coming out of glam metal. We were unfortunately seeing grunge, which was disappointing. But there was a hole in music at that point, at least for people in my circle, certainly in the goth movement. Goth kids like glam, goth kids like rock, goth kids like, there's 100 subgenres of goth, but grunge is not one of them. So you couldn't really turn on the radio and hear anything worthwhile at the time. So it was kind of nice when this album came out that it sort of broke that up. Roadrunner Records, very, I don't think a very well-known record company, but the catalog of artists that they had was really interesting. I think they all fit.
King Diamond.
King Diamond
Yes.
is the main one. Yep.
Yeah.
King Diamond, Obituary, Life of Agony, of course, kind of the sister band of Typo Negative, and another one of my favorites. Merciful Fate, Lenny Kravitz, Sepultura.
And Lenny Kravitz.
And Lenny Kravitz.
Slipknot, Dresden Dolls, Deicide, Hatebreed, Frontline Assembly, another one of my favorites. And ironically, Rat was actually on this
Interesting.
label for a little while. The band would have a total of 7 albums at the end of their career, which, of course, ended abruptly upon the death of goth god, the Green Man, Peter Steele, in 2010.
And how did he die?
According to his death certificate, he had sepsis from diverticulitis.
Oh, shit. I just
Yep.
got over my
I know.
diverticulitis.
That's correct.
Oh, man.
I thought of you when I read that.
I'm a
But I
fucking
remember...
hypochondriac. I'm shitting
Yeah.
my pants now, literally.
I do remember at the time of his death, though, there was a a report initially that he had had heart failure. Mainly, I think that came from he had started talking about feeling not well for a couple of years leading up to this, and saying that due to his substance abuse problems that he had damaged both his liver and his heart pretty significantly and had some pretty serious health issues leading up to his death. But the official cause of death was sepsis from diverticulitis.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah. So he originally was a drummer, Peter. He basically, when he was 12, he picked up a guitar, and he ended up playing rhythm guitar and really liked it. So from being a rhythm guitarist, he switched over pretty naturally to playing bass. Just an interesting note, you don't see a lot of lead singers that play bass. Usually, you might see a lead singer that plays like rhythm guitar, something that you're gonna name one right now.
Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
Geddy Lee.
Well, questionable at best.
Kip Winger.
Yeah.
There's another one.
No.
Shit. No, you didn't.
Yeah, but in general, it's not a very common thing to see, and a lot of it is like if you watch them play live, I think when you think of a bass player, you want your bass player to be really in tune with the drummer. Like the rhythm section needs to be sometimes almost within like eye line sight because they have to play off each other, and that isn't how it was in Type O Negative. He definitely commanded the front of the stage. Did not interact with the drummer while they were playing, but they still managed to pull off, a solid rhythm section. So,
Oh, I thought the rhythm.
Yeah.
I mean, not to jump the gun, but it was very nice on this album.
yeah. So, he worked, as Dave mentioned, for the New York Parks and Recreation Department, where he wore a green uniform and drove a green garbage truck, and actually really loved that job and considers it some of his happiest memories. He was really reluctant to give up that job as Bloody Kisses was coming out, this being the third album for the band and not his first band either. So he was working a day job and playing in a band at night and not willing to kind of give up that security. There are some jokes that because of the green uniform and the green truck, that green kind of became his favorite color. And that, of course, is the color that you know when you see Type O Negative, that bright, neon green, poison green, you could almost say, the same color. He would even wear green contacts and make his eyes green. He loved green so much. And when we get into the album cover art, I guess we can talk about that now. So the album cover art, little sapphic picture for you. Yeah.
Nice.
So there's some controversy over that. There were several members of the band that absolutely hated that album cover, mainly because the intention was that this was two goth girls making out. And if anyone who's seen the cover, those don't look like goth girls, do they? Nope.
No.
They were chosen by a photographer in Georgia to be quote-unquote goth girls. They were girls playing a goth role. They were not goth girls. And the green on the album was chosen by Peter Steele, and he was so careful about choosing that green. He went through like hundreds of color samples to choose the right green for that album cover. So, interesting fact about that.
I've been tortured by many a housewife going through hundreds of colors of green before I paint their living room. I don't know. What do you think of this one? I don't.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit before we start on the members about the controversy with this band. I think it's important to touch on it because there is some pretty heavy controversy surrounding this band over the years. And even today, I think when some bad press comes out about someone, it's memorable, right? You don't really remember the good things about a band. You remember the bad press. It's what sticks in your mind. And you'll talk to people today who will bring up these accusations against this band, which actually weren't true. And they think it's true and they think it's real and they won't listen to the band because of this. It was, cancel culture before cancel culture actually existed. So basically what happened was they were touring Europe in 1992, 1993. This is before Bloody Kisses came out, but they were recording the album at the time. He made some very sarcastic comments to the European press, and the European press, specifically some of the German reporters, didn't speak very good English. So when you're talking about dark humor and sarcasm and a language you don't fully understand, the humor doesn't always come through.
Translate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Lost in Translation. So
Great movie. Check it out.
yeah, great movie. Sophia Coppola. Yeah,
Loved it.
amazing. So the band was branded as kind of like Nazi sympathizers in the German press and in some of the other European press. At the same time, the American press was labeling them communists and misogynists, with communists being the opposite of the Nazis. So, like, nobody understood what was going on with him
That's
at
a
the time.
strange cocktail.
Yeah, yeah. So
And that is all addressed in their song on
it
this
is.
album.
Right.
Yes.
And he immediately denounced the reports publicly, explained how his comments were taken out of context. And it was kind of the first time where we learned how dark and strange and sarcastic his humor was. And that would stick, in the lyrics of some of the songs, in his interviews, and of the things that he chose to do with his career over his entire lifetime. So it wasn't just a moment of him being stupid. This was who he was. And a lot of people in the goth movement, have this weird, dark, sarcastic humor, right? And it's maybe not super easy to understand. It's, you need kind of a weird kind of sensibility and maybe a deep level of intelligence, in order to understand it. Satire is hard to catch sometimes. Sometimes people think satire is real statement, and it's not. So in his own words, he repeatedly stated that none of those things describe him. He's not a communist, nor a Nazi, nor a misogynist, nor anything else. He's just, a human and a comedian. And, he doesn't agree with a lot of things that are going on in society, and the way he deals with it is he makes fun of it, comments on it, makes the bad stuff louder so people see how bad it is, that kind of thing. So
Oh, he would have never survived now. Like,
No, he
and
wouldn't.
that was back then, when there wasn't a ton of internet, not a ton
Right.
of, word of mouth didn't travel quite so quickly.
yeah, and even to today, this kind of people will call them a Nazi band, and it's not true at all. But people remember that because it was loud back in the day. So
Yeah, I don't get any of that from this. I mean, this isn't exactly like Gigi Allen's brother, right?
yeah.
So when they were called Sub-Zero, did they get that from Mortal Kombat?
Oh, I was thinking the Batman
That
movie
I
with.
don't know.
I was thinking the
Interesting call.
Batman movie with
Yeah.
with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
Interesting call. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna replace Peter Steele with Mr. Freeze. Okay, sorry.
So in 1995, he appeared in Playgirl magazine. Very kind of top-notch talent for them to acquire. You didn't usually see famous people in that magazine. Very rarely. I mean, maybe once every couple of years. He would hear later from his bandmate from Kenny that only 23% of the magazine's subscribers were female. And he was very upset about this.
Hey-o.
He actually regretted doing it because he did it because he thought that women would be attracted and see him, but it wasn't that at all. He's also made lots of appearances on talk shows like Jerry Springer, Ricky Lake, and things that are even still played today, mostly about the goth lifestyle, being goth, being a rock god, and all of those things. You could see his dark humor in his responses and him being serious with like a little wink at the end, to show that he wasn't really being serious. And yeah, he has that big voice and, huge presence. So people weren't always sure if it was jokes or not. So
Funny story, just a quick one. Well, just going to that. I mean, this is like old Des from the old show, but I have to share. So I was just talking about this with my buddy Kevin the other day. So when I was in the Brats, I was drunk one night and somehow I got nude in the studio. I don't remember what happened, but they took a picture. They took a picture of me.
lot, Des.
They took a picture of me and to bust my balls. And I came to rehearsal the next day and they had, cropped this thing and blown it up and put it on the jam room wall.
Nice.
And I walked in and I went, pretty good. Left it there. So I left it there for a while. And then Delynn, before we were married, my wife now, she finally saw it, was like, she ripped it off the wall and tore it up. So the guitar player still has the original photo to this day. And he'll call me all the time like, dude, because I'm holding a microphone in one hand and something else in the other hand. And he'll show people and be like, you notice when he's holding his hand, they'll be like, yeah, microphone. I'm like, no, it's other hand. I'm like, oh, they get shocked. So Delynn was saying, don't you get pissed that he shows that picture? I'm like, no, not really. So there you go. Anyway,
Yeah.
fun
Yeah,
fact.
I don't think he was embarrassed about the picture. I'll just say that for those of you who haven't seen it. So
He can drive a boat with his wee-wee. He's good to go.
yeah,
Making the rest of us look bad.
yeah.
Yes, and if you would like a copy of that picture, just send it to the Facebook page, and I'll get one right out to you.
Self-addressed stamped envelope.
Yeah, big, one of the wide legal envelopes.
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks for delivery.
I'll have to put it on an 8x12. Whoa! Okay, there you go. Hey-oh!
Okay, a few more facts about
We've
about
lost our
Peter
way.
Steele. He was 6'7". Some reports say 6'8", but tall, very tall. It doesn't matter, 6'7", 6'8". He had a very menacing, big appearance, but he didn't necessarily enjoy that. He would only allow band pictures to be taken if he was sitting down or somehow leaning or not like standing out from everybody else. He had some anxiety about it. He actually had quite severe stage fright. Maybe not because of his height, but he had pretty bad stage fright. He was a weightlifter, if you couldn't tell by looking at him.
Big boy.
He was also a really smart guy, and I mean, to have that kind of sense of humor, you have to be smart. But he studied science and European culture and other topics. He was very obsessed with European culture. He was incarcerated at Rikers Island for a short time. Following that, he went to an extended stay at an institution to treat his substance abuse issues. He would talk later that he actually had a diagnosis of bipolar from that stay in the institution, and he blames that for his bad behavior sometimes, but he also credits it for his ability to write his intense and dynamic lyrics and to arrange the songs and the albums in a very creative and artistic way. He believes that came from being bipolar, which, you know, usually in art there is some madness, so I would say that's pretty accurate. Unlike the rest of his band, he was never married and had no children. He had a very deep appreciation for animals, especially cats, and you'll often see pictures of him with his cats and other people's
He
cats.
seems like a very gentle giant. That's kind of what I always got from the his persona, anyway.
Yeah, yeah. After his death, the band made what I think was the correct decision and decided to dissolve and never play again under that name. Although there have been talks just over the past year or two that they would not do a reunion, but they would want to do some kind of tribute to Peter's life by coming back together and playing together again.
Interesting. Who would be the singer? We'll get to that. So,
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll change that
Yeah.
at the end. How about
Yeah.
how about we pick someone to front the reunion tour at the end?
Yeah, okay,
That would
sounds
be
good.
fun. That would be
All right.
fun.
So the interesting thing about this band is when you start to look into the other members, and even not so much Peter, but the other members, you don't find a lot. There's not a lot of gossip about them. There wasn't a lot of controversy. There wasn't a lot of stories about girls in hotels and big party like the glam guys. What you find about them is what instruments they played and what they're doing now, right? So Kenny Hickey played Gibson, played a Flying V, which I understand is a controversial thing to play. You guys are guitar players. I think there's people
fucking
that
cool
don't like
guitar.
those.
I don't know
Flying,
one, but
flying V's are awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys enjoy them. I have heard that there's controversy. People either really love them or really hate them.
I've never owned one. Fine, strangely.
Yeah.
They're hard to play sitting down.
I think you have to hook your arm. Dave, don't you hook your arm around the back so it rests in the fold of your arm, right? If you want to play it sitting down.
I put it like on my lap in with the wing like in between, like kind of like classical style, so it's like sitting up a little bit.
Sure. I like it. I never played one. Interesting.
So
Yeah, I had one for a while, but don't have it anymore.
I've never seen either one of you play a Flying V.
Never
just
played
to
a
say
Flying
that. So yeah. Okay. There was an interview in 2023 with Kenny. He considers Bloody Kisses to be his most important guitar work. Claims that the guitar phrasing on this album he learned from being obsessed with Ace Frehley. So there's
Nice.
your Ace reference.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. He has a signature Schecter baritone guitar to make the sound deeper and richer, very gothy kind of instrument to have.
It's tuned a little bit lower than a standard guitar. I believe a fourth or a fifth, somewhere around there.
It's actually tuned to Z.
He talks a
Minor.
lot. Yeah, minor, always minor.
Sorry.
He talks a lot about his substance abuse issues. The whole band was kind of into that partying. But he only got sober within the past 3 years. So since 2021 was his sobriety. He claims that back around the time that Peter died, they all thought they were going to be the ones to die first, that they were doing so many drugs and so many crazy things that they were all basically just waiting to die, and Peter happened to go first. He thinks that maybe the fact that he had a wife and children, and the same with the other members, kept him a little bit in check as compared to what Peter had. So, yeah. He plays in a band now called Silvertomb. And he also plays in I Am with Johnny Kelly, previous member of Type O. He also plays with Danzig and is a touring musician with them. So that's what he's doing now.
Nice. Love me some Danzig.
Yeah. Josh Silver, the other producer on the album, along with Peter Steele, claims that the first album was actually funded by his parents. His parents paid $6,000 to record the first album.
Thanks, Mom.
And he doesn't believe that he ever paid his parents back for that. So the debt still is outstanding. The album cover of that first album was a picture from a porn movie that he stole. So that was also never paid for.
Perfect.
Yeah. He's responsible for a lot of the kind of weird, controversial things on the albums. Like there's a song called The Misinterpretation of Silence, where in it there's a 1 minute, basically what you would think was silence on the album. But if you turn it up, you do hear like the roll of a tape. There's like a humming sound on there. So what they were trying to do was they were trying to trick people to think that there was something wrong with the tape so that they would go and turn up their stereo to see what was wrong, so that when the next song came in, you would get like blasted out of the room. So
cool.
They were doing, all sorts of weird, like creepy stuff like that.
I like that.
Yeah, he would do all sorts of strange arrangements, a lot of chord progressions lifted from kind of early 80s post-punk bands like Simple Minds. There's a Don't You Forget About Me riff. We're
going to get to it. We're going to get to some of that on this album for sure.
Yeah. So that was all Josh Silver's mind of arrangement there. Yeah. Nice. Of course, he's a keyboard player and a synth guy, which is why I like him so much. You don't hear synth in metal very often. And I know this is the genre on this, the top genre is goth. The subgenre is gothic metal. But in metal in general, you don't usually hear synth. And I really like the way that they worked it in, properly.
Yes.
So, after Peter's death, Josh was certified as an EMT and then a paramedic, and has worked in that field ever since and has never come back to music.
Tough job, man. Tough job. Got to have a thick skin to do that one.
Mm-hmm. Sal Bruscato, the drummer. Also the drummer of Life of Agony. Great drummer, great band there. He also plays in a band called A Pale Horse Called Death, which is a doom metal band.
Cool name.
Slightly different sound there. He left the band after 2 very difficult tours. So remember, these were the 2 tours through Europe where they had all the controversy. And he didn't like the controversy. He didn't like how the fans misinterpreted their music. He didn't like any of that. But he greatly regrets leaving the band now, as he should, because it kind of blew up after he left. The same as Peter, he also prefers Europe to America. He thinks that people in Europe have a deeper appreciation for music and for music culture, whereas the American audience is, they grab onto one thing for a week, and a week later they forget it and they're on to the next thing, and they're very fickle. But European fans are deeply involved in their music. They own it, and they don't leave things behind like that. So. He also left Life of Agony. There were internal conflicts in that band. He claims he was young and said and did a lot of stupid things to cause tension.
Didn't we all?
Yeah. In a 2019 interview, he talks about how much he loved 80s new wave and goth music, especially The Cure. And he covers a lot of The Cure's music in his new band.
Lovely Kara.
In his new band, he's not a drummer. He plays guitar and sings. So that was a big switch for him.
Dave Grohl.
Yep. He is open to returning to drumming at some point in the future.
Cool.
Okay, Johnny Kelly. The rumor is, he denies this, by the way, that he is the former drum tech for Type O Negative before he took this slot. No confirmation on that. He claims it's not true. Lots of people claim it is true. He is still playing music with Danzig. He recorded 3 studio albums with them. He plays with Quiet Riot and several other lesser-known bands. He did spend some time touring with Black Label Society. And he works with just about everybody who asks him to play, including the just mentioned Dave Grohl.
Oh, wow. No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the things that he talks a lot about is how when you're in a band, there's a lot of downtime. So his creative mind just kept going, and that's why he has so many different projects going on. So even in a national touring act, you have downtime. So he would spin up these side projects. He would be loyal to the main act, but he always had something else going on. And I think being a musician that has some financial backing, you can do that. But if you're just a regular guy, if your band's not doing anything, you're probably working a 9-to-5 job. You're probably not like spinning up side projects and getting to be creative in other places. So I think that's a luxury of having some level of success before doing that. So, yeah. And that's all I got.
So that's all? No, you know what? It's amazing how much more of the show revolves around music now.
Yeah.
So I just made a couple of notes while you were talking. So you were talking about the grunge when it came in, and obviously grunge stomped my dreams out. So I was pissed when it came in. But there were a couple of bands that I just think the world needs, and I still enjoy so much to this day, which is Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. I love both bands so much. And my question to you was, the first real grunge band that I can remember that was like this kind of hybrid grunge. And tell me if you guys think they were the first grunge band. Mother Love Bone. I mean, was that the...
I was going to say that, Mother Love Bone.
So yeah,
100%.
they were... Yeah, I think they're like the first real like mainstream sort of grunge band, but not really.
To be fair, I loved that band. I absolutely loved that band. You didn't like them, right? Of course you didn't.
Fucking Apple's like one of my favorite
favorite
albums ever.
All right, good.
Yeah, I think I gave it 97 watts on the
fantastic.
the show.
I loved them, and to me, they were definitely on the borderline of what grunge was about to be. So,
yeah. Dave, did you were on the Mother Love Bone episode? Yes or no?
Yes, I was.
Okay, what did you give it? Do you remember? Did you love it or did you hate it?
I liked it pretty well. I don't remember the score I gave it, but I would definitely listen to them any day over Pearl Jam or Soundgarden or any of those other bands.
Gotcha.
They're much closer to what I like.
Oh, Rusty Cage, so good.
Let me ask you this. Did you, back in the day, like, early 90s, were you appreciating grunge then, or did it take you a little bit of time to appreciate it?
No, I hated grunge.
Okay.
I hated grunge.
All right.
I remember me and Pink went to Narcissus for what was the end of Heavy Metal Wednesday. Like, Pink used to rule that place.
Yeah.
You walk in that club on Wednesday and you could find him from anywhere because he's like 10 feet tall with his hair. It was amazing. But I remember him and I sitting there, and there was no more hair metal, no more makeup or anything, but we were still decked. We were in Touch Me Hooker at the time, and these dicks like trying to throw their gum in our hair behind us.
Yeah.
And they were grungy, and I hated them, and I hated grunge metal. So
I mean, I had the same experience. I hated grunge when it first came out. I think I have very, very limited way of come around to grunge again. So the only thing that really brought me in is the lyrics in Nirvana. I really like that. I'm not too super fanny of the music style, but I think that Kurt was a great songwriter.
I just couldn't agree with you anymore on that.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that's brought me in on grunge. Other than that, I dislike Pearl Jam. I don't like Soundgarden even to today.
Oh, God, I
I'll
love
give
it.
you Alice in Chains. I can listen to them a little bit, but generally speaking, I won't listen to it even today. So
I despised Pearl Jam, and it's a band that I've grown to really love because they really have a lot of essence that reminds me of bands like Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. Like the guitar player really plays in that double stop fucking Hendrix style that I can really appreciate. So, yeah, there you go.
what about Dave? How do you feel about grunge?
I do not enjoy grunge.
Nothing about it at all, right?
Not really.
You do
yeah,
play
I mean,
some Alice in Chains in your band currently today.
yes, I do. I mean, they're kind of okay, but
I love the 3 aforementioned bands, man. Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, and just fuck yeah. Okay, let's do some opening thoughts on this album, though. So I have never listened to this album before, and in fact, when I started listening to it, I realized I've never consciously listened to a single song from this band. I'm sure I've heard it somewhere, but I didn't know what I was listening to at the time. So this was completely fresh to me. Was it any good? I don't know. Let's find out. Dave, you ever listened to the album?
yeah, I've had it for a while. I've listened to it, but not a ton. I definitely was familiar with Black Number One. That was the big hit. It was on Headbangers Ball, but also appeared in Beavis and Butthead, season
Nice.
3,
Yep.
Nice.
episode Most Wanted, aired on March 5th, 1994. Plenty of people probably were exposed to it there, I bet.
Nice. And Lisa, have you ever
Well,
listened to this album before breaking it down
obviously, yeah.
tonight?
Yeah, so this is one of those life-changing albums for me. I'll admit, before this album, I had not heard of them. I had not heard the first 2 albums before this album. This was something new, though. So I was listening to goth at the time, some black metal, some hardcore, kind of that world. This was none of those things. It wasn't pure goth, and it wasn't metal, and it was something else. It was something new, and I was enthralled. It had like a little bit of Depeche Mode sexiness, a little bit of Nine Inch Nails kind of lyrical power and synth, and put in some thrash metal in the back. It just was so different and weird and sarcastic and interesting. I did see them live, obviously.
How many times?
Oh, geez, probably only 5 or 6.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nothing for you.
But I'll tell you, a lot of my, goth culture friends, a lot of them are younger and have never seen him, never got the opportunity to see him, especially not in, the early 90s. I feel lucky to have seen him live. Yeah. At the time, I was done with glam metal by then. So you were still going to Narcissus Decked Out. I was going to Man Ray.
Yeah.
and
Same
listening to
idea.
goth. Yeah.
If I was smart, I would have made the transition. I just never did.
Yeah. I was listening to like Thrill Kill Cult and Coil and Ministry and God Lives Underwater and KMFDM. That's where I was at that point. So anything that was coming out of Europe, Germany especially, I was going to listen to that. I was looking for like theatrical stuff at the time, and this sort of was that. Now, it wasn't theatrical to the point that the glam movement was, and it wasn't theatrical in the way that Nine Inch Nails or Marilyn Manson, I'll say the name, was. It was something else, and I really liked it. At the time, remember what we were listening to on the radio? Whitney Houston, Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey. There was gangster rap.
Yep.
There was like an alternative movement with the Soul Asylum and Spin Doctors and other nonsense. And I blame them for bands like Nickelback and Coldplay. It was a disaster
yuck.
of music at that
Yeah.
time. Right?
No Nickelback on this show. I can't even say the word.
It was a disaster of terrible music at the time. So, and even glam, like there were some glam bands trying still to put out music at that time. Like I believe Motley Crue had an album in '97, which was horrifyingly bad.
Oh, yeah.
So weird things were happening in music at the time. Another thing I remembered is, I said I only saw them a few times, right? 6 or 7, which is like not much for me. I tried to figure out what was happening. I was actually in school and working at that time most of my time, right? So I very rarely got to even go out to shows. So I'm lucky that I made it out. I think I saw them play with Nine Inch Nails. I believe I saw them play with Motley Crue. Yeah. So
Probably limited opportunities to see him play as well. So
yeah, and they were playing mostly, other than the tour with Motley Crue, it was mostly smaller clubs and things like that. So they didn't do a lot of wide touring. And there was a point where Peter Steele actually didn't want to do a national tour. So they didn't really tour massively like some of the other bands at the time. So, and as I said before, I did not get the tattoo. So.
All right, let's rate the singer. As always, it's 1 through 100. 25 on hair, 25 on style, and 50 on vocal talent. I never follow these rules if you listen to the show. I don't even know why we made the rules up. Okay. So for me, Peter Steele is a bit of a one-trick pony vocally. Let's be honest, right? He does what he does. But he does what he does well. And obviously, he looks great. And from what I watched for doing the prep for the show, he has really good stage presence, especially for what he's doing. Just awesome. I mean, who else would you want up there doing this? Nobody. So for me, Peter Steele scores a 79.9. He's fucking cool in my book. Dave.
Okay, so we got 22 points on the hair. It's black, it's long, it seems in pretty good health. He definitely conditioned with Pantene or something. Seemed to work fine for him. Ask all the chicks.
Love it.
So I got a 19 on style and stage presence. He definitely had a unique look. I checked out some live videos, and he was not a high energy guy on stage, but kind of parked himself in the middle. However, it kind of worked like a monolith because he was so tall.
Yes.
And that's cool too. That worked for the band. I gave him a 29 on vocal talent. Very unique sound to his voice and okay range. Just a little bit limited emotion-wise and the range, but also works in this band for sure. P was a New York guy and a fan of his pet cats, so pretty okay in my book. Total score 70.
70?
Yes, 70.
Rookie score. Dave Portnoy would not approve.
No.
Yeah.
I wonder if, we were scoring this with some women in the mix, that I think the scores would be a lot higher.
99. Oh, that's 79.9. 79.9. That's a pretty fucking high score.
Score for you. Yeah, it is.
That's
true.
a good score.
But yeah.
All right, well, Lisa, bring it to the new levels.
For me, he was the Nordic Undertaker, man. He had the hair. There's nothing better than the long black gothic metal hair. He used it as an accessory on stage, holding it back above his head. He would close his eyes and tilt his head back and sing. Like, his stage presence was huge. He could command a stadium, even a small room, all the way up to a stadium. Sure. Seeing it, like I said, I was blessed to see him live because, you obviously can't see him today live, for sure. But even back in the day, it was kind of sporadic touring. I wonder how he would have changed if he actually was still alive today, what kind of music he would be playing or what he would be doing. But yeah, I think, like, for me, he had the it factor. Like, there's something you can't put into words. He had that, like, charisma and that magnetic kind of thing. It was just a bonus that he was conventionally attractive too. That doesn't matter to me too much. I'm just saying it, just to make the comment about it. Sure. I loved his lyrics, and he was obviously one of the main songwriters in this, along with Josh. He was able to put a lot of emotion into his lyrics and twist words and scenes and things in a sarcastic and humorous way, and hide a lot of meaning underneath humor. So that that shows kind of an intelligence. I loved his voice. He had a baritone voice that was pretty rare in music at the time.
Very rare.
Very rare. Dave has a very similar voice, actually, to that. People would be surprised to know that he actually had a range of several octaves despite being a baritone. You do hear a little tiny bit of that on this album. You hear a little more on future albums. There's not a lot of high notes in Gothic music, though. So, like, you didn't have to be able to hit the high notes. You could say, okay, Theater of Tragedy, they had some high notes. They're a goth metal band, maybe. But, he wrote the songs for his voice, and I believed him when he sang. So my score is, as the goth god, a 96.6.
96.6. I gotta tell you, man, I love that Dave follows the rules and gives us each breakdown. It's become a hilarious skit.
That's difficult for me. So
it's become part of the show now.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. It's funny as fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, will you guys please add up the scores and tell us where Peter Steele lands on the list?
Sure. On the Violent Vinyl frontman leaderboard. Oh my gosh. Peter Steele, 82.17. He is number 1, baby.
Number uno, huh?
Yep, and rightfully so. Thank you, guys.
I feel like the list has broken down. I feel like the process has
Wow.
broken down tonight.
The
I'm not
list
sure.
has been tipped
When
by.
I saw that, I thought it was going to be way low when I saw your scores. Wow, that I'm impressed with that, and I think it's absolutely a perfect spot for him. So
Yeah. Okay.
directly above. Let me also say directly above number 2, Tame Me Down.
Yeah, Tammy Down's way cooler. I'd way rather have him in my band. But okay. Perfect.
That's shocking to me. Wow.
Hey,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Okay, so we actually have another celebrity call-in. Let's go to the line.
Looks like we have a caller on the VV hotline. Hello?
Who the fuck are you to be shitting all over my guitar sound? Why don't we break down your guitar sound? Oh, that's right, 'cause you ain't got no platinum album. And who puts David Coverdale at number 4 on a stupid list? You know who does that? An idiot. Hang it up, loser.
Okay. Back to the show.
Okay, so there it is, another unhappy customer calling in.
You know what
So,
surprises me is that when we heard from Dave Coverdale, he had a guitar player following him around playing as he was talking, and Cece, who plays the guitar, didn't have guitar playing in there. So I'm just
That's
disappointed
classic.
we didn't get some Cece riffs.
His
But
guitar
we-
must have been in the shop.
But we do have our house axe man Dave giving us the outro woos. So it's all good. Cece, if you'd like to call back and actually talk about it like a man, the line is always open. There you go. Okay, so it is now time for the track breakdown. Let's get into this thing. Track number 1 is called Machine Screw. So what can I say? This intro is hot. It sets the tone for the rest of the album. I was instantly having fun listening to this album, and this intro made me run for my Oculus. Dave, what do you got?
If you're a long-time listener, you know what that means.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we get some noise and some sexy time lady moaning. What's
Oh, yeah.
going on here? Sounds like a Saw movie happening in a rusty basement. Nice.
Dave, it's the beginning to what I felt was a concept album. And I'm not sure
Yep.
what the story is, but this is fucking Operation Mindcrime, Pink Floyd The Wall. This is a fucking concept album. Lisa,
Yep.
expand on that and this opening track.
Okay, so the woman in question is John Silver's ex-girlfriend at the time. Her voice was used ironically because she actually screwed him. So he made her screw a machine, and was kind of a little bit of payback there.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a theatrical opening. I think it's very short, and it melds nicely right into the first real song on the album. It's a little bit controversial, I think. Reminds me a little bit, you said concept albums. I'm going to bring out Portrait of an American Family. Had some
Yep.
weirdness like this on it too.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of fitting.
But this one really, like, I took an edible today and I was listening to it earlier today. And I was listening to this at work and I was really getting into it like I was listening to The Wall or I was listening to that Queensryche album. And sometimes this stuff would annoy me, but it didn't here. It really had fun listening to this. That's the only way I could describe this is I had fun listening to it. Track number 2, Christian Woman. So this song, the minute it started, it hit me. This song really, really reminded me of New Order's Blue Monday.
Yep.
Like, the music is almost the exact same. I mean, almost exactly. It's in a good way. He's not ripping them off. He's doing his own thing, but I was not expecting to hear this on this album. And this album is so multi-layered. There's so many different genres of music, so many different styles, so many different guitar tones. And this one really hit that 80s pop thing for me. And the music was there and Peter's doing his own thing over it. And And what really amazed me too is how much melody Peter Steele delivers in such a low register. It
Yeah.
can be very difficult to actually sing with melody when you're going that low. And he fucking does it. When the song breaks into the delicate acoustic section with the nature sound effects, this is where, again, it really starts to feel like a concept album. I mean, there's little movies going on in my head as I'm listening to it. I'm trying to imagine what he wants me to imagine. And it feels like three different songs that flow effortlessly into each other. And I love the guitar player. I love this opening track. They do this a few times on the album where one song sounds like three different songs. And it doesn't always work, but in this song, it really does. It's great. Dave.
Yeah, so we get 3 songs for the price of one.
Yeah.
I feel like they should have separated them on the CD.
Yes.
We get some vaguely churchy organ and bare vocal to begin. Then it kicks in nicely. So we're mixing sex and religion in the lyrics. Good way to piss off all the squares. Got it. The lady character in the song wants to get it on with Jesus.
Nice.
And crazy
Who doesn't?
deep vocals you don't really hear other places.
Yeah.
So then we arrive to part 2 with some acoustic guitar and nature sounds. Lyrics are a little sparser, more doing it with God. Guitar solo with double kick drum comes in. His tone is kind of non-traditional. Reminds me a little bit of the guitar player from Concrete Blonde's tone. Part 3, fuck yeah, some cowbell. And Jesus Christ Looks Like Me are the only lyrics, and we get some spooky organ and some Gregorian-style vocalizations. Is this Enigma? Tripped over that. No real ending. Like all the songs on this album, they just sort of run together. An edited-down version of this song was released as the second single from the album.
Nice. Christopher Walken likes the cowbell. Okay, Lisa, what do you got?
Okay, so this is a classic song in goth culture that you will hear played in goth clubs in its entirety. All 3 parts of the song played all the way through. It's a song people will dance to, and when you said like it's kind of like listening to The Wall or something like that, there is a little bit of that in the goth club where you just kind of get lost and wind around on the dance floor during this song. And a lot of their other music as well. It's very it's an experience more than a song. So this song was written about a Catholic girl that Peter Steele dated who liked him to dress as a priest.
Nice.
Which he loved. And for most of his life, he was an atheist. So this was very different for him. He did become a Roman Catholic shortly before his death. So I liked the deep emotive voice in the beginning. Now, if you remember my comment in the Whitesnake portion of our show, when the album comes in with David Coverdale basically screaming, and I was so angry and just done with it all. Well, this one is a little bit different. It warms you up a little, and even though his voice is kind of the first part of the song, I'm ready for it. And bonus point, he's singing while playing bass, of course. I like how the synth works into this album. Sometimes it's almost churchy, which fits with the theme of the song, a little blasphemous, and sometimes it's much more 80s new wave, like you said, New Order, very, very much that. I like when the acoustic guitar comes in, you've got a guitar solo, you have a sustained high note from Peter Steele, which you would think would be out of his range. He does hit it. It's not falsetto high note, like glam high note, but it's a high note. Yeah, it's a high note for a baritone, right? I think having a personal conversation with Peter Steele would have made me pass out just from that voice, but I never got that pleasure. So, the lyrics are pretty graphic and very sexy with lots of blasphemy. People were really offended by this song back in the day and actually still through to today. The song name is never said in the lyrics, which is kind of neat. They actually do that a lot. A lot of times the song will be named by what's happening in the chorus. That isn't how it happens here.
I never do that. I almost never name my songs after the chorus.
Yeah. So some of the lyrics, for her lust she'll burn in hell, her soul done medium well. How brilliant is he? It's just beautiful. Yeah. My favorite part, though, is the last part, Jesus Christ Looks Like Me. I think it's the most blasphemous part of the song, which, of course, fits with what I am. it basically for him, it was a statement on a misrepresentation of the Bible, of course, with everybody thinking that, Jesus was white because he looks like me. And we all know
Right.
that wasn't true.
Right.
Yeah. There's probably one other song on this album that's bigger than this in the goth world, but this is really one of the premier songs. The video is super cool, classic goth metal video with a good Christian girl being corrupted by the bad rock stars.
Nice.
There's dripping candles and red lighting and fire and, flashing neon symbols and, topless Peter Steele huge on the stage with his bass. And, of course, the MTV version is the shorter version of the song, but there is a full-length video for this song going the length of the entire song. And it has a lot of black and white stage footage that isn't in the MTV version of the video, which reminds me of how I experienced their live shows. So pretty cool. And one other thing I noticed about the videos, just in general, they're very Peter heavy.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
of course, he was a very attractive man. He was the front man of the band and mainly the songwriter. But, with some of the other bands we've seen, they've balanced it a little bit, especially like with Poison, where all of the members, got their screen time. Well, in this band, Peter is definitely the center of everything. He's the vampire god, and that's pretty much all we see. So.
Yeah, this band didn't need anybody else in the video. It's all him.
Yeah.
And give me him and some, scantily dressed, Catholic girls, and we're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear the Blue Monday in there? Have
Absolutely.
You ever?
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
you thought that before.
Oh, definitely. And,
Okay.
there's a lot of post-punk references in here, mainly from Josh Silver, I think. But we will also learn later that Peter Steele was very fond of 60s and 70s pop and of 80s new wave, that kind of happy synth sound, which you'll find a lot of goth people do like, despite the fact that we're all sad and gloomy most of the time. So.
Wasn't he really into the Beatles as well, correct?
He was into the Beatles. He was into, we heard we'll hear the Seals and Crofts song.
Yep.
Lots of very, very happy melodic 60s music that you wouldn't expect. And of course, the Doors as well, which
Yeah.
the Doors, I think, would be a darker band of the late 60s, especially from their lyrics. But
Oh,
they
yeah.
did have that kind of carnival synth in their songs as well, fitting them more into the 60s and into the 70s, but he was into all of that. So.
This album very, very much
Hmm.
reminded me of like a reimagined Doors in quite a few spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Along with a bunch of other weird bands that I'm going to get to that I hear on this album. Like there's
Yeah.
one you're going to be like, what, really? But it is. All right.
He did have a deep voice like Jim Morrison, and they were
yeah.
able to repeatedly cover some Doors songs. So
Yeah, for sure. So track 3 on the album is Black Number 1, Little Miss Scary. All. Sorry, Miss Scare All. So what can I say? I love this song. I love everything about it. This is a 100-watt song all day. From this, and talking about the Doors, from this amazing Ray Manzarek, like Munsters organ, which I just loved, to this really heavy guitar. Oh, and then we get this powerful vocal. And the lyrics are just so good. You can't go out because your roots are showing. I mean, it's
which is real life for us.
it's right. Well, not anymore. Not for
Not
me.
you, but yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And, finally we get this chorus that is like, it's abusively good. Like, I could listen to this song 100 times in a row, but that's not where it ends, right? Because we get this chorus that is like ridiculously good. But then we get a second incredible chorus that loving you is like loving the dead.
Yeah.
This is as good as the first chorus. And he gives us 2 in one song. I don't think I've ever heard 2 better choruses in one song in my entire life. 100 watts. This song fucking is incredible. Lisa, what did you think about this song? And take your time. Tell me about it.
Oh, God. So this is the classic goth song of all time.
All time.
Yeah, you'll hear this in every single goth club. Second to Christian Woman as far as Type O Negative is concerned. First to Christian Woman as far as Type O Negative is concerned. But if you look at any chart of best goth songs or most memorable goth songs ever, this one is always right near the top. It is the quintessential song, not just because of the music and style, which is usually what goth is about, but because the lyrics are specifically about what goth life is like. Right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So he wrote this song driving a garbage truck about a goth girl that he had been dating that he slit his wrists over when she left him. Yes.
It's a dark story.
It's a very dark story. So he intended this song to be kind of an insult to goth girls, right? It was intended to be like an ironic view of what it meant to be goth and how narcissistic and self-centered that goth women were. And, they broke his heart and, they deserve blah, blah, blah. But, ironically, this has become the anthem of goth girls all over the world. And not just girls, guys too, despite it completely disparaging goth culture in general. Maybe this, goes to show you that goth people have a really dark, sarcastic, self-deprecating mindset, and it's why we understand the music of Type O Negative, because you have to be sarcastic and be kind of in that darkness and be in that weird humor to understand that someone else is like that too. And that's why I think within the goth culture, we understood Peter, and we knew that he wasn't these things he was presenting, that they were being presented to shed light on the bad things that people were doing and make them louder so people would realize it, basically. So
yeah, what's funny though, because you talk about that, right? A guy who gets this bum rap and people kind of like, read into his onstage persona, the way he looked, and, made these judgments on him that were incorrect. But then you look at a guy like Marilyn Manson, it's like, I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. It's like one of those guys that like all the PMRC and all the people like that were like, we fucking told you and you wouldn't, right? So I guess you just can never really tell, can you?
I know. So the song starts out like with his kind of spooky voice and almost like a Halloween appropriate kind of synth before the guitars come like tearing into it. And
it's so good.
Yeah, and this being spooky season for us, and us being near the Witch City, Salem, Massachusetts, my city, this is the perfect song to be playing at any of those venues. He does sing a little higher register than usual through this song. It's not as like deep and monotone as some of the other songs.
Thank God.
And it makes a difference. And I think this was kind of the radio ready song as well.
Yes. And I'm so glad they did that with this song, because if they had done what they did with the other songs, and like just for this one song, they said, let's produce this thing like a hit single.
Yeah. And I really like the guitars through this song. They're like thrash metal guitars at the same time as being rock guitars, at the same time as being goth guitars. And it does change a little bit, throughout the song, because there's different, flavors, different, they're weaving together different parts of the songs. But there's so many, I'm just going to call it minor chords and sadness in the guitar riffs that it's absolutely perfect. I love the chorus of this song. I sing it in my head all the time as a goth girl.
Which of the two choruses do you like better, though?
No, I like the second one better, but the one that I sing in my head is the black, 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 black. Because, black hair and all of that.
They're both so good, but I like the second one better, too.
Yeah.
I almost feel like we got cheated out of another amazing Type O Negative song.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Like Loving You is like Loving the Dead. That should be another song.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most important goth metal lyrics of all time.
How cool would it be if that was its own song too, right? But it had the chorus from Black Number One in it, but with different verses.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of a good idea.
I think the lyrics in general in this song are fantastic. They're spooky, and it's full of a bunch of just goth stereotypes. And I don't care, ironic, not ironic, I don't care. It's a song that the goth culture was like, hey, that's who I am.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Halfway through the song, you get kind of this spooky synth bridge with like a screeching guitar that goes into a guitar solo. But I'm going to say this. It's a guitar solo, but I feel like it's synth enhanced. I don't know if you got that sense too, but There's also kind of an Addams Family tribute in this song. Yeah.
Completely.
100%, yeah, which is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
To me, it's really amazing that this song never hit Billboard, right?
Yeah.
Rolling Stone ranked this song number 64 on their list of 100 greatest heavy metal songs of all time. But even with all the play it got on Headbangers Ball and everything else, this song never hit Billboard as as a ranking song, which is shocking to me.
Yeah, no, it never got that iconic play, because as much as I love this song, I can't believe this isn't a song that I knew like note for note, word for word. When I listened to it for the first time for this, it was almost like the first time I had ever heard it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the video, there is a video for this song, another classic goth black and white video. You get that kind of shadowed look at Peter Steele's face that kind of comes in and out of the view. The video is completely black and white with the exception of his green eyes. So his green contacts like come through a little bit. There's a lot of concert footage, which is really nice. It's kind of it's cut short from the album version, the video that used to play on MTV. Obviously, I think this song is like 11 minutes on the album, and I think the video was like 4.5 minutes, which was pretty long even then for a video. But it was constantly on Headbangers Ball. The shadowed face. It also, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Queen, in a way but it's also, this has kind of become the signature Peter Steele look. And it's like, if someone says Peter Steele video, it's that shadowed face, that shadow black and white face that you see on the screen.
Absolutely.
Of course, there's the vampire biting themes that come through it, what goth doesn't love that. And then did you notice that he's playing an upright bass?
Of course, like a fucking ukulele.
Like a ukulele. He's so big that it looks like a little toy in his hand, which is just absolutely hilarious.
Oh, shit.
I thought for sure that you were going to say that this song was too long.
No.
But I like that you didn't.
This song is perfectly written. Dave, talk about the song, and specifically talk about the two choruses we get. And tell us which one you like better, because Lisa and I decided that we liked the second chorus better and probably could have supported its own song. This song fucking rocks. Go.
Yeah, they were both good. This was their first single from the album, reportedly written in his head while Peter Steele was driving a garbage truck.
Yes.
The song starts with a bass riff. Who learned this one back in the day to play over and over again like a crazy person?
I did.
A bunch of spooky / Halloween style references, like they were thrown in a blender and poured out onto the lyric sheet. Pretty good scream from Pete when the song kicks in. Kind of sounds like Danzig a little bit.
Exactly like Danzig. So good.
The song is, of course, about his goth ex-girlfriend who broke his heart. You can hear a little humor in the lyrics, and every once in a while he does the put-on vocal accent to make it more spooky.
Yes.
Good modern, at the time, drum sound, very crisp and punchy. The second part of the song moves on to loving you was like loving the dead. Sounds like one of my exes.
Nice.
But
Nice.
Some sludgy riff rock, and the music changes up a few times. We come back to the intro riff with some owl sound effects and an Addams Family musical homage with the harpsichord and finger snaps. The song rambles a little bit to a fade out.
Yeah. Oh, when it's that good, ramble away. Ramble and fade away. Because I could listen to that fucking second half all day long. Okay. Track. Well, it's not really a track. So, number 4. Faye Ray Come Out and Play. Cool little interlude. And again, I'm starting to put the movie together in my head, and this felt like a sacrifice to me. So I guess that's what I was thinking about when I was listening to this. Dave, what'd you get off this?
Similar. Yeah, another interlude, an exotic voodoo sacrifice ceremony.
Yes.
Perhaps.
Yes.
Sounds like a horror movie soundtrack. Speaking of which, White Zombie's breakthrough album came out a little over a year earlier. They were also from New York and probably knew each other from the scene. According to concertarchives.org, they did perform together at the Ritz in New York in 1991.
Oh, imagine being at that show.
Oh, God.
Awesome show.
I would have loved to see that.
I don't think almost anybody did it better than White Zombie. I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
We got to do one of those albums, yeah?
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Lisa.
So this is a little gem of an interlude. The chant, the yum yum eat 'em up, was taken from the Little Rascals short film called The Kid from Borneo. Conjures up maybe a little bit of cannibalism. We all know who Fay Wray is, right? She was
Yes, the lady in King Kong.
right, and
Right.
many, many other movies. Yep. To me, this is just like a little theatrical piece, maybe a little more poetic and artistic, much more than it is musical, and it leads right into our next song. So.
We were talking about the album today, and Delane goes, "Hey, yeah, it's a nice little interlude." I said, "Yeah, I'm stealing that. How do you spell interlude?" Okay, track number 5, Kill All the White People. Okay. So we get some hard-hitting, distorted bass here, which I thought was fun to go with this punk, like, crazy, I don't even know what, right? The lyrics are a little thin here. And again, it's starting to feel like a heavier, dark Pink Floyd's The Wall again, right? Like, that's kind of what I'm getting here. And it's what kept this fun for me and what kept me from getting bored because, I'm hearing the machine gun fire and it's kind of taking me back to the first time I watched The Wall taking, purple fucking double-sided, no, purple, I can't remember the name of it, but it was mescaline. So it wasn't as powerful as acid for people that didn't grow up in my era. It was more powerful than taking mushrooms, but not as powerful as taking acid. It was called mescaline. And we fucking loved it. I used to take it. Dave, what do you got?
Pretty much the only lyrics in the song is the title. Comes off a little jokey.
Yeah.
Peter Steele has said in later interviews that he sort of regrets some of the sensationalistic / shock value things they did early on. Maybe this is one of them. I don't know. The music is kind of standard metal / hardcore. Bass sound is a little harsh. From research, the record company wanted to pair the band with a known producer for recording this album. The band had already produced music on their own, like we said, their first 2 albums, and made their own demos. They wanted to keep the creative control. According to former Roadrunner A&R man Monty Connor, they spoke to several producers, including Jim Steinman, writer of Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell album. The general sentiment was that the band had things under control, and there wasn't really anything that they could bring to the table as producers. So eventually the band was allowed to self-produce. As much as the guitar and bass sounds don't sound, quote, good on their own, they do create a sound unique to the band. So ultimately, that's what's important.
Your comment about the producer that was not allowed to work on the album really piqued my ears. I don't know, man. The guy did a huge concept album. Maybe he had a little something to do with this that he's not given full credit for, right?
I don't know. It said right in the interview that he directly said that there was nothing that he could do with them, and he sort of passed on working with them.
Interesting.
They were good, and
Maybe he walked in and was like, "Hey, Pete, if I was you, I'd do a fucking concept album. I'm out." And Pete was like, "All right, let's do it."
See you later.
Lisa. See you later. Thank you. Lisa, what do you got?
Okay, so this is one of the 2 songs that they wrote after the controversy that they had in Europe, where people were calling them Nazis. And they wrote this song to prove that they were not, basically as a response. It's always been a very controversial song. It was made to dispel those rumors, but it basically just created brand new rumors and new reasons for people to hate the band.
Sure.
Obviously, this song is a satire. Spoiler alert. This song is a satire,
Yeah.
right?
listen
course.
again.
Listen again. You have to understand, the reason that this song came to be and why they play it the way that they do. Musically, it's a little bit sloppy, but so is punk music, and I think that's actually a good thing in this case, not necessarily a bad thing. Like any good punk or a thrash metal song, it's going to be a little rough around the edges. That's what makes it punk, right? It's interspersed with samples from Jack Holzman of Roadrunner Records' Manual of Arms sound effects album. an album that is sampled by lots of other artists in many different genres, but they're sampled on here as well. Sampling in general, putting this song closer to the dark wave techno goth movement rather than the goth metal movement. But of course, when you have a synth keyboard player in your goth band, you are going to sample at some point. So, yeah.
Cool. I'll tell you, what I like about the messiness and the sloppiness of this song, though, is these guys had nothing to prove. Because if you listen to the whole album, they're players. I mean, these guys can all play great. They can sing great. They do everything. Everybody does what they do very well. So it's nice to see them just say, hey, this is what the song needs to be. Fuck it. You know? Who cares what people think? I thought it was great. Track number 6. So we get the first and only cover song on the album, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Summer Breeze. You guys might know this from the remake of Vacation. Rusty is playing it by the pool. And question, Dave, have you ever taken purple mescaline?
I have not.
Oh, okay. And Lisa, have you ever taken purple mescaline?
Yes, I have.
Oh, now that's a surprising answer. Okay, let's go one step further. Dave, have you ever taken double-sided blotter?
Also, no.
Lisa, have you ever taken double-sided blotter?
Also, yes.
Okay, so I'm a yes to both of those as well. Actually, acid was a little too much for me. I probably only took it like maybe 4 or 5 times.
Me
I'm like
too.
Lisa with the concert.
No. Me too with that. It was a little too much for me,
Yeah.
a little too intense. I had a lot of bad moments. I think I
Yes.
am way too of an emotional person to
Me
be
too.
doing any of that. I abandoned that in my very young years.
Me too. Okay, so we had the same experience with the psychedelics.
Yeah, I don't mess with that stuff. I stick to Jack Daniels. Thank you.
Holy shit. Okay. So this one, I thought Peter's reimagination of this classic was pretty fucking awesome. The intro guitar is so fucking good. The tone and the riff is killer heavy. I mean, killer heavy. I love this guitar player, and I'm going to say it later, but I'm going to go ahead and just say it right now. He is the unsung hero of this album. I love this guitar player. I love how I just love everything he gives us. It goes in so many different directions. He has so many different tones and sounds and styles, and he plays like fucking 80s hair metal over here and fucking, you know, early 80s, late 70s punk over there. It's really fucking good. And again, it's amazing to me how low Peter's register is while still completely controlling his voice, his pitch. Like, do you know how easy it is to get pitchy when you're singing this low? Like, it's almost impossible to sing in perfect pitch, but it's because he is not using any falsetto. He's really singing at this level, and it's amazing. The backing vocals, I love them on this song, and I love the backing vocals on this whole album. And there's a couple of songs on this album where without this, and I'm assuming it's the guitar player doing these background vocals. Without these background vocals, the songs just aren't as good. There's a couple of moments where we start getting this almost Jane's Addiction feel in some of the other songs coming up. Oh, loved it. And then for this one, the bass and drums, fucking sneaky good on this whole album. Dave, what do you got on this one?
Well, according to a RevolverMag.com article interviewing Monty Connor, who I mentioned before, they did this song because Peter loved the Beatles and other great pop songs from the 60s and 70s. He felt that the band could reinvent it and make it their own, as they did with any songs they covered, including Black Sabbath's Paranoid. That was part of their genius. But Peter changed some of the lyrics because he felt he needed to add some humor and Type O references. They approached the publisher, who then approached Seals and Crofts to approve. They are the original writers of the song. They were not amused and rejected the request. So the band were forced to go in and re-record the vocals, and they remixed the song and just made it a straight-up cover instead of putting their slant on it. This is the doom metal version of the 1972 soft rock leftover hippie song. Check out the Isley Brothers version from 1974. It's way funkier than the original. I took a listen to that today. It was pretty
cool.
sweet. Type O's version is pretty straight ahead metal. Peter Steele kind of Herman Munsters out a little bit in his vocal track.
Yes, he does.
His more crooning style was a big difference from all the 80s screamers and other contemporaries like Rob Zombie, who had a wildly different singing style. Song is good. It's an enjoyable listen. It was the third single off the album. I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't get more traction. I couldn't find any information about it charting anywhere.
Cool. Lisa, what you got? You like this cover?
Yeah, I like it. I'm not a huge fan of the original song. I think it makes me kind of, but when they rewrote the song with their own lyrics, they actually named the song Summer Girl instead of Summer Breeze, which ironically, when we go into the next song, is most of the lyrics in the next song.
Nice.
So
Okay.
that's kind of, confusing. And apparently that was not done intentionally and the songs had nothing to do with each other, but I take issue with that.
Yeah.
This song was featured in 1997's I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Cool.
I like how they were able to make such a happy song so dark and menacing. It is such a bubblegum, happy song from, a time that was much more colorful. And they really just, put a bunch of raging guitars on it. They slowed down the tempo, which I think is better than the original tempo. His deep voice follows the patterns of the original melody of the song, but puts it into a minor key, which makes it super cool. And
Yeah.
I guess Herman Munstery is a good way to describe that. I didn't come up with that myself, Dave, but that was a good way to describe it.
But he captures all the melody of the original song.
He
It's really
does.
impressive. It's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, I like the noticeably good drums on this one. They really know how to do a cover, and they do a lot of covers over the lifetime of the band, and especially in the live acts. If you can go on YouTube and just search on Type O Negatives covering some other song, and you can see a lot of them doing it live and how good they are at it. So. I like, again, how this song blends into the next song like any proper goth DJ playing in a club would do. So.
Yeah. Cool. Track number 7, Set Me on Fire. So this is where it really stood out to me how many different styles we get on this album. It's a perfect example of that. The guitar player's voice on this song, in every song on the album, I love it. I just love it. I'd love to hear this guy do an album. I mean, is there a complete album that he is the lead vocalist on, Lisa?
Say that again?
Is there an album, like, has he ever been the lead vocalist on a entire album, this
The
guitar,
guitar
player?
player.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Because he feels like he could definitely front a band, his voice. This doesn't feel like a complete song to me, but I love what they gave me. And for me, what I would say it sounded like was sort of like Beck, right? And you merge that a little bit with the Doors, and then you kind of smudge it around in the Who, and you've got this song. And it's so bizarre that I'm saying these three artists are reminding me of a song off a Type O Negative album, and that's what I thought was so fun about this record. Dave.
Yeah, it was kind of hilarious. I looked up the lyrics to the song to write about it. A 3-minute and 30-second song. The lyrics on Google were precisely Summer Girl, Set Me on Fire, Summer Girl, Set Me on Fire. That's it. Listening to the song, Google's lyrics were not 100% accurate. There's slightly more to it, but it is mostly instrumental. Summer Girl, as we said, was supposed to be the title of their reworked version of the last song, Summer Breeze, with revised lyrics. I was wondering if some of this was supposed to be part of the cover song.
Definitely.
Also evidenced by the fact that Summer Breeze single also includes this song. So, you got to wonder. Some guitar soloing and solid drumming. It's not bad. I think it makes pretty good background music.
Dude, as a songwriter, in fact, that last song I sent you guys, that stupid thing where I tried to do all synth with no instruments, those lyrics are from a rock and roll song I wrote like 5 years ago that nobody's ever heard.
Nice.
I was like, oh, cool, there's some words. I'll fucking take those from here and put them there. So, yeah, he fucking wrote words for that cover song. It didn't go, and he's like, I'm using those somewhere else. 100%. Lisa, what do you got?
Yeah, and I also, as soon as I heard this song, I went, hey, that's the name of what the previous song was supposed to be. I was like, as many times as you read about them talking about these songs, they claim that they are two completely separate songs that have nothing to do with each other. That this one is a funny song about a junkie setting them on fire. That's what they say. And it has absolutely nothing to do with their cover of Summer Breeze, despite the fact that that was the rename. I don't believe it.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. I think this is just more of their satirical humor. Absolutely. Very 60s inspired song. I definitely heard The Doors when I first heard this song. That gives it a different feel because they have a very rock guitar, which obviously The Doors didn't have, but it's still, it's in the same ballpark. Carnival-esque kind of synth in here. It's an interesting song for me. I like that they have such a range of different styles of music on this album. It definitely shows their flexibility and definitely shows their humor. Not one of my favorite songs, though. So
I've been on a huge Doors kick lately. Like, I've been listening to too much Doors lately. Like, just since I've been taking the edibles at work. I don't know, man. Like, I put on Riders on the Storm. Forget about it, man. I'm like daydreaming with a paintbrush in my hand. Okay, so that ends side A. Holy shit. Lisa, have you got something for us tonight?
I do. So instead of a Fast Five, we are going to play Never Have I Ever Halloween version. So I'm going to make a Never Have I Ever Halloween related statement, and you guys will either disagree or agree with the statement. And if you have a little story to tell about it, you can share that as well.
Okay, let's get into it.
All right. Never have I ever been too scared to enter a haunted house.
No, come on. You've never been too scared to go into a haunted house.
Even when you were little, you had no problem?
Oh, okay. No, I thought this was we're gonna.
Oh, you're gonna guess if
me?
Done it. Well, of course,
yes.
Yeah. I was no. Oh, but I want you to answer as well. So.
Yeah, I think I was scared to go on that stupid submarine ride at Disneyland, so we could count that as a haunted house. Dave.
I haven't been too scared to go in, but when I was a little boy at the Spook House in Keansburg, New Jersey,
nice.
Which is no longer there, I went on the ride with my grandpa and hid my face under his arm the whole time because I was too scared to look at anything in the haunted house.
But I will say that we broke down Hell House LLC on Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie this week? And after watching that, I probably would not do the haunted house thing since everybody dies. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, for me, I've never been too scared to enter a haunted house. I think that's super fun, and I love being jump scared and all of that stuff. But I have been too scared to enter an actual haunted place. Had a really kind of breakdown outside of the Danvers... what is that? The Danvers Hospital?
Yes.
State Hospital. The Danvers State Hospital.
The insane asylum.
Which is now condos.
Yes.
And I don't know how, if you go
Super
up there.
haunted.
Yeah, the energy up there is absolutely just bleak. A lot of people died there. There's a lot of unmarked graves up there. I went up there once doing one of those kind of, let's see what the abandoned property looks like. And, the condos obviously are in work, but the main building, which is the original building, is still standing there. And I couldn't even walk in the front door. The feeling was just horrifying.
So Lisa, I work at Slattersville Mill in Rhode Island, and the History Channel actually did a episode on it and how haunted it is. And I've worked there for over 10 years, and I have stories I could tell you, and I could even tell you a story about a cleaner that was found massacred in the corner of one of the apartments. Yeah, a guy that I was working with him not 2 days before, found him with a compound fracture of his arm, his leg, his head was bashed in, and he died in the ambulance on the way.
Jeez.
And nobody knows what happened to him. And I have a million stories I can tell you about this place, but that's for another show. But there are units that I will not paint without the door being open.
Okay, next statement. Never have I ever had a Halloween costume malfunction in public, Des.
No, I've never had a Halloween costume malfunction, but I do dress up as Spider-Man for the children when my wife hands out candy. I have a really authentic killer Spider-Man outfit, and the kids go crazy. There's one kid left, he's like, Spider-Man's up there! Really? Spider-Man's up there! And screaming at the other kids. Yeah, so there you go. That's a good sport. Dave.
I don't think I have had a Halloween costume malfunction, unless you count when I was 12 and I was dressed up like Freddy Krueger, and I had the full head rubber mask, and it was so hot and sweaty, and I, just had to take it off, and I think my head was probably steaming in the October night.
Nice.
So if you count that, then sure.
Okay, and Lisa.
All right. I've had 2 costume malfunctions.
I'm sure. Let's hear about them.
Once when I was a little kid, I was dressed as a Rubik's Cube.
Nice.
I made the costume myself. I know you have a thing about Rubik's Cubes. I made it out of a big box and I painted it and I was the cube. And
killer.
I couldn't see my feet. So I fell off a curb and I fell and I hit my head and I got a bloody nose and it was a big disaster.
Oh,
Aw.
shit.
I know. Isn't that awful? It's so embarrassing. I have had an adult costume malfunction as well. I dress up as a satanic nun quite often for Halloweens, and most of those costumes, it's Salem, it's goth stuff, and are topless. So I did lose my upside down cross pasty before. So. Yeah.
Yes, I saw the picture of you in that outfit, and I was thinking that outfit could fail quite easily.
It did.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's good. Okay, keep going.
Okay. Never have I ever scared a little kid while wearing a Halloween costume.
No, I have scared little children just in general. They just see me, but no, never in a Halloween costume.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
Oh, you guys. That's half the fun is scaring people. I think I'm naturally scared. I'm actually been told by my coworkers that I'm terrifying on a regular basis. So I don't need a Halloween costume to scare people. I'm just naturally terrifying.
But have you scared children?
Absolutely. Have you seen me?
Yes.
My God. To be fair, though, I have some coworkers that have pretty young kids, and they're fascinated by the fact that I'm a goth girl and wear all black and are scary. And one of them even has their own little goth outfits that they wear when they come meet me for dinner. So,
Cool.
Yeah. Hi, Rosie, if you're listening.
Nice.
So, yeah. Never have I ever eaten so much Halloween candy that I got sick.
Oh, of course. I've puked that giant, horrifying puddle of puke with undigested toffee, and yes, absolutely.
Are we counting just stomach ache or just full on barfing?
I think anything at this point.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure there's been stomach aches, but
So I had an incident in Ireland when I was very young. Every day I used to walk down to the candy store and spend my Irish pence that I would win gambling on horses, because that's what I did when I was 5 and 6 years old in Ireland, and that's how I won my spending money.
Nice.
And I would spend all my money on candy, and then I would come home, and while I was watching TV in the evening, I would eat it all. And there was one Halloween where I went down to the candy store, and the guy just gave me this big bag of candy because he remembered me, because I used to be there all the time. And I went home, and I remember that Miss America was playing on TV, and I was so excited. It was like an off time because it played. They only have 2 TV stations, so it played like later in the year. So it was around Halloween. I ate the whole frickin' bag of candy, and I swear to you, I puked blue for like
That's
3
awesome.
hours straight, and I was so mad because I didn't get to see the whole Miss America.
That's awesome. When I was a little kid, we used to go to this like penny candy store. I was probably about 7. Me and my friend, we went up there and we stole some Swedish fish. And we got about, I don't know, maybe 20 feet from the store. And for some reason, being stupid little kids, we were sure the guy was going to come out and catch us. So we ate dirt.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know why. It just made me think of the story. But
Ew.
okay. Keep it rolling.
Okay, last one. Never have I ever forgotten my Halloween costume and had to improvise on the spot.
So that never happened to me or Dave, but tell us your story.
So, generally speaking, I'm always dressed for Halloween because I'm a
Right.
goth girl, right?
That's
But there
awesome.
was one time at work when they did like color week at work. So every day you had to wear a color. And of course, I don't have colored clothes. All of my clothes are black. So I went into work and everyone was in pink. And it was like pink day. And I'm standing there in my black outfit and I'm looking around and they're like, you didn't participate and this is important in team spirit. So I took pink Post-it notes and I put them on my black shirt and I was like, I'm participating in Pink Day. So that was my participation.
And how did that go over?
They didn't like it very much.
They were like,
they were
remove the
disappointed.
Post-its. Yeah, remove the Post-its immediately.
Yeah, but what are you going to do when you don't own anything but black? So
that's awesome. All right, there we go.
Yay!
All right, Dave, you're going to have to bring something to the halftime show eventually.
All right.
Okay, perfect. So there we go. Let's flip the album over. If you're listening to the show on vinyl, this is where you flip it over and we go on to side B. Track number 8, Dark Side of the Womb. This is why I never had children. I fucking hate them. Dave, what do you got?
Baby sounds, some spooky industrial noises. We're making another mini horror movie soundscape here. But I could do without the screaming baby.
Sure. Lisa.
basically 30 seconds of a baby crying and an industrial track playing under it, a little bit Nine Inch Nails-ish, I think.
Yes.
They toured with Nine Inch Nails this year, so maybe that was the influence. I like how this bleeds directly into the opening of the next song. I don't enjoy the baby.
Hate the baby. Hate the baby.
Yeah.
Hate the baby.
Track number 8. We hate babies. It's called We Hate Babies. No, we hate everyone. You know what's funny? So with the one of the co-hosts from my Hey Jeff Stat movie, we send fucking little short videos of babies and small children getting hit in the head with balls. It's the funniest thing. Like nothing makes me laugh harder than like a 3-year-old getting drilled in the head with a soccer ball. Oh God. The harder they go down, the funnier it is. So this song, guys, did you not hear the section of this song that sounded exactly like Twisted Sister? Like, no?
I had to look at the credits to see if Dee Snider was a guest singer on this.
Okay.
Because it sounds so much like Dee Snider.
Dude,
I thought it was just me.
No way, dude. I thought this was like fucking Burn in Hell, the song. I was like, holy shit. And then it goes to like this 8mm crazy dark sound. Then it changes again and we get this great outro song with, dude, best drums and bass on the entire album. I love this fucking rhythm section in this. Crazy multi-layered album, and I am still having fun listening to it. So yeah, Dave, what'd you think?
Well, the song opens with what I guess is their, signature distortion bass feedback. They do it all over this album.
Yep.
I don't know if it's the guitar or the bass or both of them, but this one has a metal/hardcore vibe again. Kind of reminds me of Gwar a little bit.
Right.
We get a breakdown with some synth noise. I think adding the keys /synth guy let them expand their sound way beyond their New York thrash metal roots. Eventually, they wind their way back around to the original chorus. In general, I can definitely get behind a song titled We Hate Everyone. However, they end with a cartoon Three Stooges style ending. Hey, it was all a joke, guys. I would have preferred a straighter ending on it. I didn't like the cartoon ending.
Yeah, no, that's tongue in cheek. I think it goes along with the vibe of this whole thing up till now. It's just so funny. Like she said, this album is almost like a satire version of like a really dark fucking goth album. They were like, yeah, this is fucking Big Trouble in Little China in a fucking album. Go ahead, Lisa.
So this is the second song on the album that is in response to their European tour when they were called All Sorts of Things, and then again back in the U.S. called All Sorts of Everything Else. A song claiming that they aren't racist, they aren't bigoted, they just in fact hate everybody. Nice. Which, fair enough, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's got one of the most recognizable openings in the goth world with that whoa, whoa, whoa. Everybody knows that little riff and can sing it. It has a great chorus. Even if you don't know what the song's about, it's angry, it's angsty. It's prime for a mosh pit. It's great hearing this song live. It's definitely kind of an anthem song for them. Very popular song in the underground world, even though it certainly wasn't something you could play on the radio or on MTV. But it was very popular in the underground. It turns almost black metal a couple minutes into the song, maybe 2.5 minutes into the song. Kind of like then you get a thrash metal doom guitar. Then it turns into just classic metal with some synth in the background. But I think the lyrics explaining that he is hated by everyone and hates everyone else, and everybody just misunderstands him. Because you can't all be right. If one person says you're a communist and the other says you're a Nazi, somebody's wrong or they're both wrong, right? And it's basically that they're both wrong. So it's a satire, clearly supposed to make you look at society in kind of a new way and be like, yeah, kind of everybody sucks. It's not just like, you can't just hate one group. Everybody's pretty terrible around here. They succeeded, with this song in that people either really hate this band or really love this band in the same way that people receive KMFDM. It's kind of the same thing. You either love them or you hate them. I love the drums in this. I love the bass in this. What I didn't find was not a lot of guitar solo in here. There's actually very few guitar solos in most of the album, which I think works for them. But yeah, it's noticeable in this song.
Nice. I'm starting a communist Nazi cult. I'm trying to, I don't know, maybe like, Adolf's, I don't know. What are we doing here?
I don't think a lot of people understand what communism really is in the U.S. If you haven't lived under communism, lived in the Soviet Union, lived in Eastern Europe,
Right.
You don't understand the devastation that movement caused the world. So I really hate it when I see people wearing like hammer and sickle shirts, thinking that they're like cool because communism cool. No, it isn't. Go live it. It's terrifyingly bad.
Yeah, it's more than a T-shirt, guys.
Yeah.
Track number 10, Bloody Kisses, A Death in the Family. Welcome to Dracula's Castle in a musical form. This is a thick piece of music, right? From the ultra tuned down instruments to Peter's ultra low vocals. But overall, I thought the track was a little bit monotone. I mean, Dave, it got a little boring, right? It did have a cool concept feel again, and that's what's keeping me hanging on at this point in the album is, my own imagination trying to just kind of make up little visuals in my head of what I'm listening to. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, well, my first comment was, ooh, spooky Dracula organ. So we're kind of on the same page here.
Okay.
But this one's kind of a downer when you find out it was at least partially written in ode to his childhood pet cat.
Aw.
Yeah. So that adds a little bit of a bummer factor. The music is great. This might have actually been a contender for a single if the subject matter was not so dark. Very 90s synth piano solo. The end sort of fades and segues right into the next song. The track is almost 11 minutes long. It is hauntingly hypnotic, but I feel like they could have also cut it down just a little bit.
Sure. Lisa.
So yes, it definitely was written about his childhood cat who passed at the age of 18. But according to him, no one wanted to hear a big goth guy with fangs crying about his cat. So he hid that meaning into what sounded like a death of a girl or a family member or something like that. But yes, it was about the cat. I like the organ in the beginning, a little bit like a funeral, maybe. I like how the guitars come in. They have some pretty thick effects on them, either that or that's synth. I can't figure out exactly which it is. It's a very sad song. There's no power ballads in goth, right? But if there was such a thing, this would be it. I don't know, despair ballad? I don't know what to call it, but something like that. You said it was like boring and that it was very long. I think this song was intended like more of those, like when you're listening to The Wall and you just kind of zone out. I think it was intended more for that, not necessarily to be constantly listening to like a radio single. It's like an atmospheric song more than that. So A Pair of Souls, Become Undone, Where Were Two, Now One, divided by this wall of death, I soon will join you yet. So there's a lot of pain in this, suicide themes, unaliving yourself after the loss of a loved one. A lot of people thought that this was about a woman and accused him of being a misogynist. After that's where kind of the misogyny comes in here. They didn't know it was about his cat. It also had a sense of kind of satirical, I don't want to call it humor, but a satirical darkness in it. There's great synth on this song, woven underneath the guitars, gives it a lot of depth. I just want to point out that we've talked about synth in the glam movement and how it ages songs, but in the goth movement, synth makes the songs what they are.
Sure.
So, a lot of interesting bridge parts where he whispers in that dark voice. There's a woman crying in the background. He definitely has feeling and believes the lyrics that he's delivering. You can tell from this song that he has contemplated his own death and maybe taking his life to get there, as a lot of people probably have in the goth movement. And that's what drives a lot of people to become goth, is these kind of feelings of darkness and looking for an escape. So I found this song wonderful. I think it should have gotten more play than it did, even though it's long. I think this is one of those songs you just have to kind of zone out and just let it wash over you.
Another perfect example of people making judgments on somebody without knowing all the facts, right? We're about his fucking cat. I mean, give me a break. Track number 11. I don't even know what, 3OIF, is that right?
3OIF.
All right, good, I got it right. What can I say? This one really I'm just going to make it simple. It reminded me of Operation Mindcrime for no reason. Like, I didn't actually hear anything in it that sounded like it was off that album. It's just the vibe it was giving me at this point. I did think to myself while I was listening to this after the last one, because like you said, it really is atmospheric music. I'm at work. I'm kind of just zoning out, doing my thing. I was thinking, man, I kind of wish, like with Operation Mindcrime, where they tell me what the story's going to be, right? Like, I know what it's all about. Or with, Pink Floyd, The Wall. Like, I know what it's all about. So I'm able to kind of go on the journey with the author. I kind of wish that Peter Steele had just given me this story. Like, said, hey, this album's about, whatever. Fucking a guy who falls in love with a fucking priest, or I don't know, whatever. Just tell me what it's about. I would have had a little bit more fun with it. Dave. Okay.
Engine noise and chanting, I guess. Noise soundscapes. I'm not crazy about this one. They didn't need this track.
You made me spit out my water.
Sorry.
You both are going to feel awful when I tell you what the reference for this song is.
What is it?
Okay, so to me, when I first heard this, it sounded a little bit Jane's Addiction-y to me. Kind of noise, almost bordering on noise music. Noise being a cousin to electro metal and goth metal, so I think the crossover made sense there. So 3OIF, 30 If. This was a kind of tribute to the license plate on the car in the cover of the album of Abbey Road by the Beatles, which read 28 If, intending like McCartney would be 28 if he had survived the accident.
Right.
Kind of the theory about him not being alive anymore.
Paul is dead.
Yeah, Paul is dead, that one. So it's that. And the story was that Peter would have been 30 if he had not died in that motorcycle accident that he had. And that's the engine that you hear in the background. It's actually a motorcycle. So that's the reference.
Cool. For those of you who don't know, Paul McCartney actually died in a car accident. And they replaced him with a man that they ran a contest for. They were looking for lookalikes. And they found this man that actually played. And actually, there is a real guy that looked very much like him. Is the story real? Probably not. But I'd love to indulge in it from time to time in the YouTube rabbit hole. Sorry. Okay, so we're ready to move on. Number 12, Too Late Frozen. Is that right?
That's right. Too late.
Okay.
Frozen.
I'm getting punchy. Again, I love the different flavors we get here. It's Too Late. The vocal section of this song is, I don't know, it's different from the rest of the album. It's overall, again, the album, it just takes so many lefts and rights from the vocal concepts that he's singing, the stories, the guitars, just everything. And it's just, I don't know, just crazy. Just another, the album's starting to confuse me at this point. I'm getting confused. Dave, try to talk about it. Make sense.
Yeah, the song starts with a riff gone wrong, and the guys razzing each other about it. The song is on the lighter side, almost poppy sounding, and then we get the doom breakdown in the middle, and then some Viking metal or something like that. Good use of lyrics setting the mood in the song. Again, they get back to the original part of the song for the ending.
Yeah, what I was trying to say was, before I lost my mind, was the part where it's going, it's too late. That background vocal, I really liked that vocal a lot. But this was one of those songs that had a couple of different sections that just didn't go together for me. It just grinded itself. Lisa, you go.
To me, this song sounds like quintessential 90s. There's some grunge in here. I heard a little bit of Hole in there, if you can imagine that. There's some punk in there. There's some spooky pre-chorus sections that are a little bit creepy. This song is about somebody who betrays him and then tries to come back way too late to apologize for what they did. And he's basically like, too late, and kind of has frozen them out of his life. In the shadow of the light from a black sun, frigid statue standing icy, blue, and numb. Where are the frost giants? I've begged for protection. Very lyrical and almost like Dave had said Viking music. I'm saying Nordic goth music. This is an artistic song. It's not for the radio. It's not for the general public. It's for people who really love the art of music in the way that Jane's was very theatrical, that Nine Inch Nails was very theatrical. A little bit of like Ziggy Stardust maybe, or definitely some Beatles in there. There's a lot of pop in this song. I like the pop less than I like the kind of doomy stuff that's in it. It's a fun song, but it's not for everybody, and I get that. So.
Yeah, the only problem with Typo Negative and what you were saying about these these albums like that is when you got a guy like Perry Farrell with so much range and so many different go-tos with his voice, the album stays a lot more interesting. When it's one guy kind of doing the same thing for the entire album, it starts to grind a little bit. Just for me, just a little bit. What's the dog's name?
Coda. Yeah, she's having a blast over here. There's
Nice.
something outside, coyotes, I don't know, fisher cats. We've got all sorts of wildlife out here, bobcats. Yeah.
Nice.
Somebody saw a mountain lion recently, so yeah.
She's making her violent vinyl debut tonight.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, track number 13, and I wish they had ended it on track number 13. I think it would have been
That would have
great.
been spooky, right?
I think it would have been spooky, but
Yeah.
they decided not to. This one's called Blood and Fire. We get more big process guitars, and usually I hate big process guitars, but not here. I love the way this guy's processing his guitars. In fact, I enjoyed all of his guitar sounds on the whole album. And like I said earlier, I would go as far as to say that this guy is the unsung hero of this band. Everything that you've said, all the little artistic choices to sound like, other, some pop bands, it's all coming from him, from what I understand. So I love it. I think this guy's got great ideas, and I think it's about him for me. This vocal had too much effect on it for my taste. But I thought the acoustic section, again, they did this a couple times in the album. Very, very nice. This guy's a great guitar player again. He plays all sorts of styles on this album. And when he breaks into these clean acoustic parts, he's playing delicate guitar, and I think it's great. Get a little melodic guitar solo section. Really good. He's going to do it twice on this song. I enjoyed it both times. More great drums and bass. I think the song could be chopped up and edited and made better. I think it's one of those songs where there was a really great song if it had been written and arranged in a traditional fashion. But that's not what this album's about, and I get it, so I'm fine having it the way it is, but I just saw a little something more in it. Dave, what do you got?
Well, cool down-tuned riff to start the song. Interesting vocal effects on the pre-chorus. It echoes slightly from one side of the speakers to the other. Super spooky middle part with acoustic guitar. We have almost the same notes. Cool melodic and atmospheric guitar solo, and we even get a short second guitar solo here. Back to the chorus, and we hear the big Jim Morrison scream to end the song.
Nice, Lisa.
So, with the exception of Peter, the entire band hates this song now. They feel it was too 80s. And my note from that is Dave and Des are going to actually love this song. That's going to be their favorite song on the album.
It's definitely one of the ones I like better.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
The lyrics are about him lamenting a lost relationship. They're not cheesy 80s, but they're pretty close. You could probably switch them out with like Poison lyrics, and it would still go along with the feel of this song and the melody. This is not a super popular song in the goth culture in terms of Type O. Not that they have many bad songs, I would say, but this song is rarely mentioned as kind of a classic or a must listen. I think because of how 80s it is. I like the cadence with how he delivers the lyrics. They're sad, but they're still 80s, and there's like a bit of a fake English accent in there on the gang vocals. A nice 80s guitar solo from us finally. We don't get a lot of guitar solos on this album, so I thought that was really good. This is like a romance song, and Josh Silver has commented that acquiring romance doesn't really have a place in music. I tell that to every 80s glam band who talks about that, but Peter Steele did love this song because he had a sexual kink for smoke and fire.
Nice. Like I said, I heard another song in this song, had it been just, edited and produced a little differently. And we get to the final track on the album. And it's funny because this goes against everything that I usually want in a final song on an album. I usually want to go out with Black Number One. I want to go out with a bang. Not on this album. Nope, not on this concept album. I love this for the final song. But it needed more lyrics, right? I mean, it's got no lyrics. But I like the overall feel of the song, especially what was that, Dave? Was that a sitar on this?
Sounded like it.
Okay, so I thought it was a sitar. It sounded really cool. Super Beatles, obviously. If this was a standard album, wouldn't work. But for what my mind was conceiving while listening to this, I thought it was cool. You know what it almost reminded me of? Like the end of a movie, right? Like there's credits are running, I'm leaving the theater, and it's fucking cool. Dave, what do you got?
Lyrics are pretty sparse here. Another song where the lyrics are basically just the title. How about some verses? No, the music is okay. I'm personally not a fan of sitar sounds. However, too hippie Beatles for me. There is some kind of singing in the background towards the end, but it's mixed so low you can't even hear it or make out what it is. I'm sure Lisa probably knows. And the song just cuts off at the end. I didn't like the ending. I would have left this off the album and ended with the previous track.
Nice. Lisa, wrap this thing up. I'm like a little kid that's been up past his bedtime. Like my ADHD cannot sustain a 2-hour conversation. I'm like, go ahead.
So this is a little bit of a bluesy song. I was thinking it was a slide guitar, and you guys are saying sitar. I believe you over me. But yeah, there's something, some weird kind of instrument going on in there. Some desperate vocals, a very simple, gothy, weird kind of country blues feeling. I haven't heard anything else like this anywhere, not before then and not since then. There's almost a female voice in the background, which really kind of fills out the song. Let's talk about the hidden lyrics that Dave heard under the grumbling. And it's just a repetition of lyrics. It's everybody smokes pot, Monty Connor sucks cock.
Nice.
Monty Connor being their Roadrunner A&R man, who heard the song, knew the lyrics were there, and thought it was absolutely hilarious because he understood the satirical humor of the band. So.
I love it. That's great. Cool. All right. So we have broken down Type O Negative's Bloody Kisses. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's go on to replace a couple of members. We'll do some favorite songs, and then we will score this, and we will log it for eternity with Peter Steele. My favorite song, obviously, Black Number One, because it's the best song on the album. The song I would cut would be Kill All the White People, because it's just not a great song. Dave, what do you got?
Favorite track, Black Number One. And I would cut the 3OIF. Didn't go anywhere. Couldn't really tell what it was or why it was there. And after the explanation, I'm still not even sure.
Lisa, what do you got?
All right. Obviously, Black Number One is my favorite. It is a goth song you can't escape. It's everybody covers it. Everybody plays it. It's still played to this day in the clubs.
Good.
I'm going to cut Set Me on Fire. not really into the poppy kind of 60s kind of sound, so I'm all set with that.
Cool. Now let's remove a member. We'll replace them. And we decided that we were going to do the front man, and it was going to be for the reunion tour. I have got 3 men that could very easily handle this gig. It would be a different experience with each of these singers, but all one that I would be down for seeing. The first one is I would replace Peter Steele with Ian Ashbury of The Cult. I think that would
good
be
call.
great. Yes. My second one would be Sweetheart from the Throbs. I think he could also pull this off. And finally, it would be Glenn Danzig from Danzig. I think any one of these men would crush the reunion tour. Dave, what do you got?
Yeah, those are great ideas.
Thank you.
I couldn't come up with somebody else to front the band for a reunion tour, but I did think for a replacement, we could sub out the original guitar player and put in their buddy Dimebag Darrell from Pantera,
Sure.
and have some more kick-ass guitar solos.
I love it. That's fucking killer. And Lisa, what do you got?
Okay, so I have a replacement and I have an idea for a singer for the reunion tour. So my replacement, I'm going to replace Sal Abruscato, the drummer, with Will Carroll from Death Angel. I think that would be a nice fit. And I picked that because I love the guitar player and I love the synth, and you can't replace Peter. So it's not that I dislike the drummer. I actually think he's perfectly fine. But if I had to pick
really
someone, I'm picking him. So
And you know the drummer from Death Angel, correct?
Oh, absolutely. He's a friend of mine. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah,
And it's a shout out to
and
him.
he's a friend of mine, and he would be great at this. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
cool.
for the reunion tour, I'm going to replace Peter Steele with Nell Sigland of Theater of Tragedy, a female singer, symphonic goth singer who has a huge vocal range, and in Theater of Tragedy hits every high and every low note. So
Cool. I don't know, not familiar with the musician.
definitely got to go listen to Theater of Tragedy.
Theater of
Amazing.
Tragedy. Mm-hmm. All right, so there you go, folks. That's our.
And I just came up with, I'm going to go the opposite way on the vocal range, and for the reunion singer, I'm going to go with King Diamond.
Oh, King Diamond. That's awesome. Talk about flipping the coin, right? Okay, so let's do some final thoughts and we will score it. So this album had some extremely bright spots, but it definitely gets disjointed. Overall, cool album. Gets a little long in the tooth like myself at times. The songs jump around a little bit. I got a little confused about what they wanted this to be. As good as Peter Steele is at doing what he does, it does get a bit monotonous by the end of the album. The first time I heard it, I was up in the 70s, but I had to bop down a little bit after listening to it a second time. It's a 69.9 watts for me. It's a good album. Go check it out. Dave.
Yes, first, I'd like to say we talked about it a little bit before, but it's a great album cover. Very identifiable to the band, kind of provocative without anything actually happening in the camera shot. What's going on outside that camera shot?
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Have you seen the cat version of the album cover?
No, I want to
like
now.
The actual,
with cats
feline.
instead of women.
That would probably be awesome.
It is.
Nice.
I need to look that up right after the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Peter Steele has cited Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine as a big inspiration when he was forming Type O. I can definitely hear that influence a little bit. You can hear a little sense of humor in the album, like we said, and see it even more if you look at interviews and their other work. There's some really good music in here and definitely stands out from the scene these guys came from. They formed a unique look and sound that worked very well, even though they were somewhat reluctant to be, quote, stars. They had a better image and identity than, I think, Nine Inch Nails, but not quite as much range and depth to their music.
Totally.
I like it. My score is 72.9.
I agree with everything you said there, especially the Nine Inch Nails part. Yeah, dude, 69.9, but there are some 100-watt moments on this album, so I want to say that. It's got some brilliant moments. Lisa.
Okay, this is a really important album for me personally. It's a really important album for the goth genre, for the goth metal subgenre. It brought that subgenre to the mainstream. They are an influence of a huge amount of metal bands in all of the metal genres, from doom to hardcore to everything else. We'll name Type O as an influence. But the interesting thing about them is that before them, no one sounded like them. They were kind of a new type of music. After them, still no one sounds like them. There is no band like them out there. I don't think there ever will be again.
Many bands try.
Many bands try. I think there's maybe two bands you could say that are in the ballpark, and or bands are the singer King Dude is probably pretty similar vocally and lyrically. And Seventh Void, which actually has John Kelly in it, former member of Type O, are probably the only acts I can think of that come anywhere into the ballpark of Type O. They are so unique, and there's no one else like them. They're always going to be staples of the goth clubs. They're always going to be played over and over by goth DJs. They'll be covered. There is a Type O Negative cover band in Salem that plays occasionally. They play maybe once or twice a year, and when they play, they pack wherever they play. The line is out the door.
What's their name?
I wish I could remember their name now. I
Look-
should have looked them
look
up.
'em up. Google
yeah,
it.
look them up. They're really good. And they have lines out the door. The singer is 6'5" and looks like Peter and sounds like Peter and plays the bass like Peter. Pretty amazing band. Very dark topics. My little goth heart breaks every time I hear from them. Everything Dies. Thank you, Dave. Everything Dies is the name of the Type O Negative cover band in Salem, Massachusetts. They play very rarely, only once or twice a year. If you can get out to see them, please do. They are absolutely incredible. They play with one of our personal favorites, Lucis, who are friends of ours. But yeah, they don't play very often. So if they do play, get out there and see them. There are some Type O purists, including my very sweet, dear bestie friend AMK, who insists that their last two albums were absolute garbage. I like all of the albums, all 7. The dark topics, the sadness, the emotional delivery of the lyrics, everything about it I like. And because of how important this album is, and no one was able to ever do it again, I'm giving it a 96.6.
Woo, 96.6.
Yeah, it's
So-
more art than music. I think this is an art piece, much more than it is just music.
So, guys, I hope you all appreciate all the information and facts and professional research and work that Lisa puts into this show. Because she could probably be on like the Eddie Trunk show, but she is slumming it with me and Dave. So, so I hope you guys enjoy it until a real music show hears this and pilfers her away from us.
You're far too kind.
Oh, God. So go ahead. Let's add up the scores and find out where this thing lands on the chart.
Okay, on the Violent Vinyl album chart, Type O Negative's Bloody Kisses album, total score of 79.80, which puts it, yikes, at number 5 on our chart, which is not the bottom.
Okay.
Above Whitesnake's 1987.
Okay.
And below Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In.
It's funny. So we've been, I've been looking at our numbers, and the White Snake one was like the worst one. Like nobody wanted to listen to the and when I
Yeah.
say that, it's still got a shitload of listens. But like, our two best ones obviously have been Faster Pussycat and Poison. So you can tell our people love it. But like the Nine Inch Nails, surprisingly did very, very well. I mean, more people listen to that than the Whitesnake album. So there you go. All right, guys. Nice job. Next week, in 2 weeks, we'll be back with our Halloween episode. We're not going to actually do a show on Halloween, which is a Thursday, but we will be doing it the week before, and we will be breaking down Fastway's Trick or Treat. Fucking
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but good album.
Can we add one thing before we go? There is Vane coming up, playing a show live here in Massachusetts on
Yes.
Their only East Coast performance.
Awesome.
October 18th.
Yep. At, in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Yeah, we
At
gave
Taffeta.
we gave you all the information in the Vane episode,
Mm-hmm.
but Taffeta Music Hall in Lowell, Mass on October 18th. Get some tickets.
Nice. And how many original members?
I think it's
Delana,
all
Davey.
except for one of the guitar players.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Jamie Scott, or whatever, Scott guy
Delana.
isn't going to be there.
Delana Scott.
No, the other guy, the guy with the black hair. Oh, Danny West. Danny West will
West,
not be
yeah.
joining them, correct? Okay.
That yeah, I believe so.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
You still got Ashley all cool and skinny, and yeah, good. So there you
Yep,
go.
And opening for them is a local band, All Sinners, who we saw in an acoustic performance last week with Phil Lewis and Ace Von Johnson from LA Guns.
LA Guns.
And one Mr. Pink opening up the show. So there you go. We have to have Pink on the show one day. We talk about him
Yeah.
all the time. Awesome. All right, so make sure you guys get out there to Salem if you're local, if you're from the Boston, Massachusetts area, New Hampshire, where the surrounding areas. Make sure you get out there and check out the Vane Show. I have watched a bunch of their shows on YouTube recently, and they are still putting on a great show. Davey Vane has still got the chops, so go check that out. Last week we did Hell House LLC on Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie? And that's it. And I'm going to try and get Lisa and Dave back to do another episode of that because that also had great numbers. So people like to listen to us talk. What can I say? So until next time, I just have one question for you. No, that's the wrong show. Until next time, take the albums out of the sleeve and let the music breathe. See you next time. Oh, God.